Hello everyone. The information about the last video, that oil is the development of a planetary hydraulic structure, raised many questions. So I decided to dwell on this in more detail. It is clear that before my version, there were different opinions among conspiracy theorists about the origin of oil, that oil is the blood of our ancestors, so beautiful, but very far from the true version, and close to the official, less beautiful. Such, I would even say with a whiff, that oil is a product of decomposition of sewage waste. I have a different opinion on this, and I will give additional arguments in favor of it. First of all, it is necessary to proceed from the fact that oil is oil. This is an important point in the characteristics of oil, which in general explains a lot. Sewage waste, yes, black, a color similar to oil, but do they have oils in their composition? Have you ever seen the formation of oil by the decomposition of organic matter anywhere in nature, there, in the natural environment? Personally, I don't. It is not the first year that I have been engaged in gardening, observing the processes of decomposition of organic waste. That is, there are branches, foliage, plants, manure, to the same human feces. All this turns into soil, but not into oil. Yes, depending on the composition of organic matter, soils can be dry and oily. If we take coniferous forests, then the fall actually turns into sand there. Mixed iron gives fatty soils. But is it possible to get millions of tons of oil from these soils? Obviously not. If we analyze the composition of oil, then there is an important point. It is the presence of benzoid and related aromatic hydrocarbons in it, in simple terms, essential oils. There are quite a few of them in oil, a little more than 10%. In some types, it reaches 35%. Was it specially flavored or something? But not spirits. Although perfume is made from oil, the same flavors are identical to natural ones. The notorious vanillin, for example, just because the oil contains essential oils. Where are they from there? But there is only one option left. This oil is obtained from plants that exude fragrance and then contain essential oils. Therefore, the official version about the organic origin of oil is close to the truth. Indeed, the oil that later became oil is obtained from plants, but only fresh and not rotted. And it's clear that smelly sewage waste and essential oils are simply incompatible things. But you can imagine that, for example, perfume is made from feces. There are medicines, food flavors. If everything were so simple, then any owner of a village toilet could become a perfumer, and livestock farmers could become oil magnates in general. And then why all these problems, difficulties with oil production, drilling wells for tens of kilometers, piled up a bunch of organic matter, and in a few years, please, ready for you an oil field. However, this does not happen in real life. Something else happens. Any organic matter becomes vermicompost. Everyone, even non-gardeners, knows that this is the best fertilizer for plants. Moreover, the longer the organic matter rots, the better the fertilizer. No farmer would think of fertilizing the beds with petroleum products, gasoline, fuel oil, kerosene there. This actually kills the plants, along with the soil. Therefore, the conclusion suggests itself. Oil is a dangerous toxic product, whereas household waste, and even more so the contents of toilets, are not so harmful to nature, and even useful over time. If you look at household waste and oil from the point of view of combustibility, then here too, the picture is pretty clear. Take for example a burning bonfire, pour it with slurry or gasoline. The difference is obvious. In the first case, the fire will go out, then in the second, it will flare up more. The fire hazard class of oil and petroleum products is very high. If we proceed from the considerations that fecal fluid or organic matter, as the official version tells us, eventually becomes oil during prolonged decomposition by bacteria, then it simply has to acquire combustibility from somewhere. How is this even possible? As a result of what chemical reactions this happens? So, on the contrary, rotted organic matter for hundreds, especially thousands of years, turns into soil, and he, as you know, is one of the best means of extinguishing a fire. There is even such a thing as a grounding conductor, that is, the earth does not pass current, it gases an electric charge. Grounding guarantees protection against ignition, so there can be no question of the combustibility of humus. The same situation with working out is different. The high temperatures of the operating mechanism eventually turn the oil into a flammable liquid. Used oil, just like oil, has a high combustibility, unlike organic waste. In general, regarding organic waste, there is such a thing as decomposition. The process of processing organic matter in nature is called decomposition, from complex to simple. That is, organic matter consists of a mixture of complex compounds. Getting into the ground, it goes through the stage of splitting with the help of bacteria, fungi, worms. And as a result, complex compounds are split into simple, micro and macro elements, which are then easily absorbed by plants. Scientifically, this process is called mineralization. In the transitional stages, at some stage, yes, aromatic hydrocarbons with a very sharp, unpleasant odor are formed. But in the end, all organic matter paraprivate, rots, and turns into ash, ammonia, water, and carbon dioxide. The situation with oil is different. Oil is a mixture of complex hydrocarbons, that is, paraffin, naphthenic, which fungi and bacteria will not create. Their task is to split them into extremely simple compounds. And what happens from the point of view of the official version about the origin of oil from organic waste? That the microbiota split, and, having reached the stage of complex hydrocarbons, bang and stopped. That's it. The oil is ready. We're done. We're going on vacation until humanity pumps it all out. Everything in our life, be it paper, fabric, organic residues, plant residues, animal remains, human remains, all this turns into soil, vermicompost before our eyes. The situation with oil is not the same. This means that the microbiota is the same, the organics are the same, the place of the event is the same, the earth, and the result is completely different, a complex of complex hydrocarbons and mostly fatty, expensive raw materials. Black gold, oil magnates are sitting like this and waiting for mercy from nature. But when will the unicellular ones fit us with another portion of oil? And now, at this moment, they laughed very loudly, because the supply of oil to the collectors of our platforms is the result of a serious deal by very serious people. We will definitely talk about this, but not today. So, the oil barons are not waiting for mercy from nature, but are actively building huge refining complexes. For the distillation of oil, that is, in every possible way, it is effected for the separation, transformation of complex compounds, not with the help of bacteria and fungi, but with the help of powerful centrifuges of high pressure, high temperatures, all kinds of solvents, demulgators, and much more. And by the way, there is such a moment. The heavier the oil, that is, the higher the sulfur content in it, the more difficult and expensive its processing will be. It would seem, what does sulfur have to do with it? Why is there more of it in one oil and less in another? It turns out, very much so. By the amount of sulfur, that is, by its sulfur content, the quality of oil is determined. The more sulfur, the heavier the oil. And this once again confirms that oil is waste, because waste oil is cleaned with the help of sulfuric acid. The more cleaning, the more sulfur there is in the processing. This nave is heavy, sour in taste. It is of poor quality because it has been subjected to repeated cleaning. Let's see what fresh and used turbine oil looks like. Fresh oil is light, transparent, and see how it changes its color. Below is a color scale for determining the state of the oil from 1 second to 8. That is, the smaller the figure, the cleaner and lighter the oil. Here's another photo. Here they compare the condition of fresh, used, and flushing oil. The same picture. Fresh oil is light, transparent, and spent, of course, dark. And pay attention to the color of the oil of the second washing. It is red. And now let's look at the grades of oil. Here they are. As they say, find 10 differences. We observe the same pattern. As with used oil, the color ranges from light red to thick black. I think now, even the most hopeless skeptics have no doubts left. If there were no comments on these photos, then any car mechanic would say that we are talking about engine oil. Nevertheless, no, these are grades of oil that exactly resemble fresh spent turbine masses. And in conclusion, I want to draw your attention to such a subtle and interesting point. This is the taste of oil. The taste of oil used to determine its quality. Heavy oil, dark oil, low quality, as I said, sour in taste. The oil is light, of high quality, sweet in taste. It is so sweet that sweeteners, such as saccharin, are made from it. Have you ever heard of sweet-tasting humus or feces? But, for example, corn oil tastes sweet. But in general, any vegetable unrefined natural oil has a sweet taste to a greater or lesser extent. But it is difficult for us to feel it, because we eat too much sugar and our receptors are atrophied. And with all the abundance of vegetable oil on the shelves in our stores, it is naturally very difficult to find. Most of them are produced from so-called palm oil, but most likely from oil. It's just because so many palm trees don't grow. Even officially, the same chips, for example, are fried in alustra oil. The technology of its production from oil was invented by the Americans in the middle of the 20th century. All these facts suggest one idea, that fresh turbine oil for rotifer is made from fresh vegetable raw materials, and not from some kind of waste or garbage. And the process of its production most likely takes place outside of our platforms. Within the framework of one video, of course, you can't tell everything, so much the more. This is the location of the number of nodes of a hydrotechnical planetary structure, that is, transformers, a cooling system, an open switchgear, and also, there are thoughts about the history of the oil business, about the essence, the main essence of the oil deal, about the supply of resins, about what place we generally occupy in this process, about direct and alternating current, about what a rainbow is, where salt water comes from. But that's all for today. If there are any questions and unclear points, then I will dwell on this topic in more detail. Well, of course, the way I imagine it. Thank you all for your attention. See you in the following videos.